Look, now that I'm out of the race, I'm turning my energies towards combating COVID-19, which wouldn't be such an issue had we addressed healthcare, but I digress. Today, I'm happy to announce my own brand of hand sanitizer called Bernie's Sanitizer, the hand sanitizer for the 99% that kills 99% of germs and bacteria and viruses, leaving only the 1% which are undoubtedly hoarding the lion's share of the nation's health, leaving a struggling middle class to fend for themselves. Order yours today, and I'll drop it off in my Prius. Bernie's Sanitizer is a very aggressive sanitizer and will likely leave your hands chapped and irritated, much like myself. When you feel the burn, that's how you know it's working. Available wherever communists do their shopping.
Let's talk. Nice.
What up, what up, what up, what up, what up? How's it going? Welcome to Spencer Explores the Universe, Season 1, Episode 30. We're really cruising now. Next thing you know, will be Episode 31, like in a week. What has been happening? Working a lot. The work-life balance is strange when you live where you work and you work where you live, but making it work. We're making it work here, trying to get outside for some safe distance exercising, which can be challenging when you live in the city. And as you may know, cities have people in them. And sadly right now, people are scary. That's a weird thing, isn't it? To see people on the street and just recognize them as like a threat. So I'm like hypersensitive to that, and I end up like I'm just waving at everybody like probably a crazy person. Although I will say, if I like kind of acknowledge people and like, hi, how are you? And they don't say anything, I'm like, well, fuck you too. Whatever, dude. Don't have to wave at me if you don't want. I don't have to wave at you. I take back my wave. Sir. So yeah, been doing that. Been trying to eat healthy, get some, like I said, exercise, trying to stay chill, staying in touch with people. Although, man, I'm so over the video call, and I'm sure that I'm not the only one. Like night one was like, let's Zoom. And now it's just like, ugh. I'd just rather talk on the phone. I don't want to hold my phone up in front of my face anymore to talk to people. Although maybe there's some strength being built there. Maybe it's kind of like planking for my arm. I don't know. Although I'll say my left arm does not look ripped, so probably not. What else to talk about? I don't have any. Where's my talking points? I don't really have any. But I do have paper and a pen. For fun recommendation, I would say if you're not following David Spade on Instagram, you should, because he's thriving and doing a great show from his basement. And dude does not need an audience, and he just goes, and he makes me laugh every day. So that's my recommendation. Additionally, some things that you could watch on TV that I've been watching and enjoying. There's a Nova special about the planets, narrated by Zachary Quinto, who is the new Spock. And there's something very comforting about hearing him speak about space things. And it's a great show. So they start with Mercury and work their way out. We just finished up with the gas giants last night. Usually sends me off to sleep, and then I pick it back up the next day. Really well executed. Great interviews. Great special effects, actually. It's kind of looks like a movie. So I would recommend that. I would also recommend... Well, I just finished The Office. All of it. So I still like Parks and Rec better. Sorry. But The Office was very good. I'm glad I did jump into it. I got past that initial, of the awkwardness of the first season, when Michael Scott was just kind of cruel, and then they softened him a little bit and brought out the other characters, and then it was on. So I enjoyed The Office. 4 stars. We'll be back. Movies. Well, that brings us to today's show. what I've been doing, and we did last week with Zach Jones and Briana Holt, was to watch a movie that we had watched when we were younger and loved, or two movies in our case. And last week we did, oh shit, what did we do last week? I can't even remember. How stupid is that? Funny Farm and Splash. And we all had differing opinions. And I think we all agreed that Splash does not hold up. But Funny Farm did by majority hold up, even though I was kind of like snooze. But I did like it when I was a kid. So we chose two new movies this week, and we will talk about them. We did a Robert Zemeckis, Bobby Z Double Featch, to quote Zach Jones. We did Romancing the Stone and Death Becomes Her. Both movies that we said, I love that movie, I think. As always, this show is brought to you with the generous support of Maine Spirits, who bring all of the great liquors and spirits here to the great state of Maine. You can find out more about them at mainspirits.com, on Instagram at main_spirits, or you can download their app for your smartphone. Tons of information in there. Very handy these days when we're making drinks at home. Also, we are brought to you by Bull Moose. Bull Moose stores are presently not open, but they are shipping, and I encourage you to support them. In fact, I have a box set on sale at Bull Moose right now, which you could maybe buy, because I don't need that shit in my house, so you take it in your house. Also brought to you by Sun Tiki, also not presently open, but when we open back up, or they open back up, I think if it's we. It's we. I love those guys. It's going to be the noisiest little room in town, and it's going to be great. We want to thank them for their support. And now, just like we asked ourselves and we asked each other, we're now going to ask you, does it hold up?
Does it hold up now that we're grown up? It was the shit when we were young, but nowadays is it as fun? Does it hold up like before?
Sometimes you get your friends from other circles together and it does not work out.
Well, we're still young in this relationship. Yeah. We'll see how it goes.
No, you guys will be fine.
We might become mortal enemies.
Mortal enemies.
we might have our own Death Becomes Her kind of feud.
Oh, God. All right. On that note, let's begin. Jones, go for it.
Let's begin.
All right. Let's go ahead and start with Romancing the Stone.
Okay.
All right.
Speaking of Death Becomes Her, let's start with Romancing the Stone.
Sure. So, I mean, for the listener, we did a Robert Zemeckis double play this week, or
the Bob Z Double Featch.
The Bob Z Double C. I don't know. But yeah, so
sure, it works.
So, Romancing the Bone.
There has got to be a porn. Somebody had to have made that.
Oh yeah, it exists. It definitely exists. It's got to.
Can I put the intern on that right now? Can I just see? Romancing the Bone is certainly a porn that exists.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
All right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, now that we know there's a porn called Romancing the Bone, let's just go watch that and come back and talk about that in a little bit.
I don't want to. I really don't want to. I don't want to see what they have to offer. I really don't.
No, nor do I.
A porn parody of a movie from that time period that I have the opinion that I have about. I'm good.
Which I can't wait to hear.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, let's talk about the movie. I was psyched to watch this movie. I think right after we had talked the other day or last time, my younger brother texted me and he was like, "Hey, do you remember this movie?" He was watching that, which is why I brought it up to you guys. It's like, "Oh, man, we should watch that." I loved this movie when I was a kid, and then I kind of completely forgot about it.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm a huge Robert Zemeckis fan.
Mm-hmm.
Like I got to put that out there. Like I love so many of his movies, and for some reason, the two movies that we watched this week are the two that I always kind of forget about when I'm thinking of Robert Zemeckis movies.
Mm-hmm.
But Romancing the Stone, I guess before, when I was a kid and I didn't know who Zemeckis was, I just liked that movie. And for me, I liked it when I was a kid because it sort of like scratched that itch for more Raiders of the Lost Ark.
I was just gonna say it's definitely like a Raiders ripoff.
Yeah, and it's kind of in the same way like David Lynch's Dune scratched that itch for like more Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
That's what Romancing the Stone did for me.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, I was into it when I was a kid, and then I just kind of forgot about it.
Mm-hmm.
As much as I love so much of the other work that Zemeckis has done, but I gotta say I mostly still enjoyed it. Like there are some huge holes in the backstory. Like what was her sister and brother-in-law doing in Colombia, and why did he have this map, or why did he know about this? You know, how did this colonel that apparently chopped him into pieces like not know that Danny DeVito and the other idiot were looking for the stone too, or that they had kidnapped her sister? Like the whole setup and backstory is just like not very well fleshed out at all. But I did really enjoy Kathleen Turner's performance. Like I like how she starts out as like the homely cat lady and sort of like kind of finds her like sexy confidence as it goes on.
I don't know if you saw my messy notes, but I put no toilet paper, no paper towels, has a cat, messy apartment. It's me.
And I definitely like the scene where she's at the bar with her publisher and they're like, you know, like rating the guys on their looks. Like I thought that's actually pretty progressive for to take that perspective and whatever year it was. Was that 84 or something like that? Like
yeah.
But yeah, there's I feel like it still draws. Yeah, it is a loose Raiders ripoff. It feels like, but it's missing. Well, it's missing a lot. The Raiders has. I mean, it's hard to hold it up to one of the greatest movies ever made. But there's
I'll back that up.
I will. Yeah, I'm with you.
That the Colonel Zolo or whatever kind of fills the role of two of the three bad guys from Raiders. You know, there's the Tot, like the torture guy in the trench coat, and this Zolo guy starts out like that at the beginning in his trench coat and hat. Obvious bad guy with the mean guy mustache and the knife, you know. But then once he gets back to Colombia, he turns into the other, like the Nazi bad guy from Raiders. You know, like whatever so yeah, it's like that guy's
Dr.
those two bad guys. Yeah. But then it's missing. You know, Raiders also has the other archaeologist who is like the smart villain, you know, like, and this is missing that because then you have Danny DeVito and the other guy, but they're both kind of idiots too.
They're
and DeVito's
so
great.
good though.
They're great, but I feel like it doesn't. The stakes never feel that high in this movie, even though they're being shot at all times.
They don't ever feel high.
Yeah. So you know, I guess my last observation is. It's funny. So this, I think, was the first time that Robert Zemeckis worked with Alan Silvestri, who wrote the score. And of course, Silvestri went on to write some of the most iconic film scores ever. But the music in this movie is so dated and terrible.
So I have all of these notes about the music. It is over the top.
Yeah.
Over the top.
It was funny that the success of this movie is what earned Zemeckis the green light to go ahead and make Back to the Future. And it's crazy that that's like where they went after this was like, okay, we did this like kind of cheesy Raiders ripoff. Now let's make one of the other greatest movies ever made.
I've been, I gotta jump in.
Go for it.
You'd mentioned that it scratches an itch. How about more like gave me a rash?
Oh no!
Yeah.
All right.
Oh,
I turned this movie off.
I sense our first argument about to happen.
I turned this movie off. This movie. I again, like you, a Bob Zemeckis fan. Many of the movies he's made are among my favorites. This is not one of them. This was like the most self-serving Michael Douglas vanity project I've ever seen.
Agreed.
Michael Douglas, not. I mean, an Oscar-winning producer, you know, with One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Like he's no stranger to the industry.
And Oscar-winning actor with Wall Street,
and a great actor in The Game and countless other movies. Not in this movie. He was so cheeky and awful, and he just it was just a vanity project. He wasn't a good enough producer to realize that, like, I'm not Harrison Ford, not by a long shot, not even close, not even close.
No.
You know, you can like see it in his face when he's acting. He's like thinking about how he's the producer.
Yeah.
He's thinking about how great it is. He's thinking about what a cool dude he is.
Yeah, he's at the pool party in his mind already, like, you know. Yeah.
In his mind, he is Harrison Ford.
Yeah.
I wrote down should have been Jeff Bridges or Gene Hackman.
Oh, Jeff Bridges would have been amazing.
Yeah, Bridges would.
Or Hackman.
Bridges would have been so good in that movie.
Yeah, Jeff Bridges. Yeah, he'd have been perfect. It would have been a different movie. Yeah. And it's not that Michael Douglas doesn't have acting chops. It's not that. It's just very clearly he was in like a totally misguided attempt at making a movie. Like, his reasons for making this movie were not to make a great movie. It was to like make more Indiana Jones money and paint himself into that lexicon and
yeah.
And there's some good scenes.
He wanted more roles like that, right? Like, that's what he wanted.
Yeah. I guess so. I mean,
probably. Yeah.
I mean, Falling Down. That's an incredible Michael Douglas performance.
Great movie.
Yeah. But I don't know that he produced that one.
Yeah.
Which I will get to my theory. I think I want to talk about my theory after the next movie, but I also want to hear Briana, like, any additional notes you'd have on Romancing the Stone.
So many notes. Like I said, definitely should have been Jeff Bridges or Gene Hackman. Would have been a better movie.
Mm-hmm.
And I do. So Michael Douglas produced and starred in this film. Bought the rights from the woman who wrote it, who sadly died 2 years after the movie came out. I learned.
I remember reading that.
And yeah, you can literally see it on his face in every shot. He's thinking so hard about it. He's thinking so hard about being this character, and it just is difficult to watch, to be honest. However, I have to say that the vehicle of the actual film, the surroundings, the way it was shot, it looks amazing. Like, it looks great.
Yeah.
The timing is awesome. I think the timing is like incredible in much of the movie. I think Danny DeVito is perfectly cast.
Yeah.
Danny DeVito and Michael Douglas were friends or roommates or something.
Yeah.
I think that's like why.
Yeah, I read that. They were roommates.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest as well.
Yeah. And I think he's perfectly cast in this movie. I think there are bits and pieces of this movie that don't work at all. But I do think that even though it kind of slides in as a Raiders ripoff, it's like a little, referential and like it's obvious, but I also think it's pretty great to watch. Nobody agrees with me.
I enjoyed it enough that I was watching it on Hulu, and as soon as it ended, it suggested the sequel, and I watched the sequel.
Jewel of the Nile?
Which I gotta say is not good.
Couldn't have been good.
No. But yeah, I had a good enough time that I was like, yeah, I'll hang with these characters for a little bit longer. Yeah, that may have been a mistake.
I agree with Briana. Like, Robert Zemeckis is like a super talented director. He's a very skilled, very technically proficient director.
Yeah,
you know what I mean, so like, yeah, it would stand to reason that those shots look great, right? But but for me, it was the combination of the plot holes and the janky plot itself, just like why? Like, there's just a whole bunch of things like, oh, now we're falling down this thing. Like, okay, fine. And if it weren't for like Michael Douglas's relentless mugging, he's like, it's almost like he's an actor who is acting to be an actor. You know what I mean? It was like
it's bad. He's bad
in that movie. In this movie, though, that's what makes it frustrating, because he's excellent in
Yeah,
other
'cause
things.
he is a great actor.
He's excellent in other things.
Excellent.
Yeah, I think he's green enough or something in this movie, or like he hasn't been smacked around a little bit. He hasn't had his heart broken or something. I don't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know that Bonnie Raitt album, the Bonnie Raitt album that has her in like the multicolorful clothes, like doing like that cheerleader kick?
Oh my god!
Wait, is that the one not the one where she's sliding into home plate?
Yeah, that one. That one.
Yeah, that one.
Okay.
Right,
Are
so
you telling me you don't like that?
No.
record? That's a great record.
I'm just saying. My point is that like, if you look at that image of Bonnie Raitt, that does not match whom we know Bonnie Raitt to be. So I believe that Romancing the Stone is for Michael Douglas as that album cover is for Bonnie Raitt. It's just not. It's just not who he is.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mentioned earlier that the stakes never the stakes never really feel like high in this movie, and part of it's missing. Like obviously, like Raiders is like, over the top, but there's like a humanity to it. Like Harrison Ford's constantly getting beat up, and like, he gets shot in the arm, and then there's that whole scene where he's like, my whole body hurts, and every time she touches him, he's like, don't touch me, it hurts.
Yeah.
There's never anything like any humanism in this movie. It's just constantly they're being shot at with machine guns, and their bullets are ricocheting right next to them. Yeah. But after like the first scene of that, you're like, I don't care. They're not going to get hit. They never get hit. They never it doesn't matter how close these bullets get to them or how frequently they fly.
Right.
It's like they're never in any danger.
Didn't they star together in War of the Roses?
Yes.
They did, which I recall being great.
Yeah.
It's been a while since I've seen that too.
Yeah. I remember them because their chemistry is definitely great, but it's just you got to take the action star context out of it.
Yeah.
Their chemistry is really good in this movie. It's like warm and fun and natural feeling.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, she's amazing. Kathleen Turner's I think she's pretty great.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I enjoyed her performance a lot in this film. And in general, I generally like her.
She carried the movie.
I have a fun fact. Oh,
she definitely carried the movie. It's true.
I have a fun fact for you guys that ties into what started this whole thing.
Ooh.
So I was reading about the movie after we watched it, and apparently the initial cut of this film tested really poorly in front of its test audience.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time, Robert Zemeckis was slated to direct Cocoon, and the studio removed him.
I was so excited to share this fact with you guys.
We're going to tie every episode back to Cocoon. We have to tie every episode back to Cocoon.
Yeah. I have that right here in my little notes.
Into it.
Zemeckis was meant to direct Cocoon. Triple exclamation point.
Even if Romancing the Stone was the worst movie in the world, which it sounds like Spencer thinks it is.
No, I just don't think it's good.
I'm thankful for it being a successful movie, because had it not been for that, we may not have gotten Back to the Future. So
fair, yeah, no, totally. So let's unless anybody else had any other points, I don't want to cut any moments of brilliance off.
I think I've completed all my thoughts.
Okay. I'm going to go ahead. I'll jump in and say it does not hold up.
I think it holds up for what it is. I just don't think it's a great movie.
Zach, you keep skirting the issue. Does it hold up or not hold up?
Well, Zach, you gotta own it.
No, it doesn't hold up as far as the way I viewed it as a child and how I view it now. It does not. Yeah. But I still enjoyed watching it.
Breeze's Crust?
I mean, I say it holds up, so I guess.
I respect it.
I guess I'm out.
I don't understand it, but I respect it. All right, let's take a little break, and then we will get into the second Bob Zemeckis film, Death Becomes Her, starring Meryl Streep, Goldie Hawn, and Bruce Willis. This is your Bull Moose Minute for the week starting on April 14th. Paolo Baron, Paul is Dead. This is a graphic novel, fiction. It's what happened if the hoax was true. It's what would have happened if the hoax were true. Paul died in a car crash Wednesday morning at 5 o'clock and was replaced. Chris noted here that I know the story. I do know that story. Have you all heard that story? If you want to have some fun with some light conspiracy theory, go ahead and Google that stuff and then check out all the clues too. It's kind of fun. I definitely feel like they were pulling everyone's leg for a while there, and they won't admit it. That's the part. Maybe Ringo will let the cat out of the bag someday, as he will no doubt be the last man standing. Caleb Landry Jones, The Mother Stone, on blue vinyl and CD. The actor, Get Out, Twin Peaks, The Return, mashes a bunch of genres together in a pretty decent way. Both of these titles, one a book, one a music thing, are available at bullmoose.com. Put in your order and they will ship it directly to you. And how much safer can you get than that, mofos? Do we want to jump into the next one?
Let's do it.
All right.
Let's do it.
So the second movie we watched was Death Becomes Her, also a Robert Zemeckis film. As I said before the break, starring Bruce Willis, post Die Hard.
And post Die Hard too.
Yeah, Die Harder. And Meryl Streep in arguably like her prime. Like she's just like shooting 1,000. Hold on.
My Zoom is telling me something weird.
Yeah, mine was too. Let's just keep going. We might run out of time. I'd have to start a new meeting.
What?
Yeah, you can only do 40 minutes on the free thing. So let's get down to brass tacks. Everyone in this movie is in a career peak, which Bruce Willis seems to never leave. And Meryl Streep as well. Goldie Hawn. We haven't heard a lot from Goldie lately. You know, not to say that she wouldn't crush it if she did something, but
Bird on a Wire really carried her.
What's that?
As I recall, Bird on a Wire.
Bird on a Wire. Yeah, she filled up the.
And Overboard, for me personally, Overboard really carried her too.
Yeah, Overboard's a good one. Private Benjamin. You know.
Yeah. I don't know if I've ever actually seen that.
Don't remember that movie at all.
That's one of my earliest crush memories. I remember seeing the trailer for Private Benjamin and just being like, "Who's that?
Who is that?
And what's a girl?" You know, like, can I have more Jell-O?
Also, the sugar,
which is the same as being
Express.
elderly as well.
What's a girl?
Can I have more Jell-O?
More Jell-O.
Sorry, what were you saying, ZJ?
Oh, I was just saying Steven Spielberg's The Sugarland Express, one of his early feature films. Goldie Hawn is the starring actress, which is also a great film.
So, does anyone want to start on this one? Go ahead.
We have a volunteer.
Briana Holt, please.
I do. I have some tough feelings about this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Really, really, really wanted to love this movie because of loving it in the past.
Yes.
And because I love camp in general.
Yes. Big fan.
And I love all three of the major stars of this movie, as well as Isabella Rossellini, who
Rossellini,
who has a small, underutilized part, in my opinion.
Oh, she's great.
She looks amazing.
Oh my God.
All I want to do when this is over is parade around town in a bikini made of beads.
Yeah, right. And also pull it off and look still mysterious and threatening. She seems
terrifying, but she's wearing such a beautiful, like, super sexy outfit.
Not at all ridiculous.
No.
Michael Douglas would not have pulled that off.
No, it was hard. I was really looking for her nipples. I couldn't see them. But there's definitely a lot. There was a lot I loved about this movie, and I did have some pretty high expectations as a lover of camp and Meryl Streep. But I just have to say, I was so distracted by the just like shitstorm, like early 90s aesthetic. Like I couldn't It was it looked awful. Everything looked like it was falling apart. It looked like the movie was made for $25. And I couldn't, it was like this emotional whiplash. Like, is it a B movie? Is it campy, or is it trying to be like crazy, like high budget, like sci-fi fantasy comedy? Like, I couldn't, it was too unfocused or something. And the whole time I was watching this movie, I just kept thinking to myself, it should be a John Waters movie.
Yeah.
Like, it shouldn't be a Robert Zemeckis movie. Like, this movie should be weirder, you know?
I agree.
Like, weirder, grosser. The jokes didn't really stick. One joke, literally one joke really, really stuck.
Which joke?
Just one. Which is when Bruce Willis's character is going, where's my wife? Where did they take my wife? And the guy goes, she's dead. They took her to the morgue. And he goes, the morgue? She'll be furious.
Yeah.
That's it. That one really got.
That was the
one really
laugh.
got.
Yep.
Yeah.
But I thought it looked shitty, and I thought that the camp level was like Bob Zemeckis was pretending. He was like, I could be weird, funny, campy.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep.
And it didn't hit for me. And I just there was an alternate ending that had Tracy Ullman in it. What the hell? Why couldn't we have that?
I didn't do any further research after I stopped.
Yeah.
I found it to be.
There were some good moments, but
yeah, there's bound to be good moments, like considering the cast, the sheer talent that's in the room. Like, some things have to stick, but I'm with you. It's like not campy enough and not slick enough. It's just like right in the middle, and it's kind of shitty. And the effects, even though they don't hold up. Sorry, that was a little meta reference within the thing. The effects don't hold up. But at the time, they were probably like leagues beyond anything anywhere else, because it was 1992. But it just doesn't. The technology was too young, and I don't think they developed Goldie Hawn's character enough. I thought Meryl Streep was very good in it, and I thought Bruce Willis was also very good. But I just felt like they didn't. It's almost like they were handed a song that was too simple, and they just like wound up overplaying it. Yeah. It didn't. Some of the production values were good, some weren't. The set design was it was the 90s. It looks like the whole movie looks like a mall. And
it does.
Yeah. So I don't think. Yeah, it just missed the mark. I think. Good idea, decent plot. I don't even have like a problem with the ending, like, you know what I mean, like the way it like played out. Like, I'm not looking at it like I'm looking at like Romancing the Stone, being like, nah, it didn't make sense. There's a huge hole. There weren't any holes. Everything was like pretty sound. It just there's something lost in the execution, and
So I always think that there's like two eras of. I guess totally there's three eras of Bob Zemeckis that I think of, but I always think specifically there's the motion capture era of Bob Zemeckis,
yes,
which is like the dividing point for me. So there's like pre-motion capture Zemeckis,
yes,
and post-motion capture Zemeckis,
yes. And
I think we watched the two of his weakest films in the pre-motion capture era. Death Becomes Her is a movie that I used to see bits and pieces of on TV all the time, but I don't think I saw it in its entirety until I was in my 20s. And it's been a long time since I've been in my 20s at this point. I liked it a lot at first. Like, I thought all of the performances were great. Obviously, Meryl Streep is fantastic and everything. But even like being like in a comedic role, like her timing and her facial expressions and all that was like so perfect.
Yeah, she's great.
I actually thought, from an acting standpoint, I thought Bruce Willis maybe put on one of his greatest performances, just because he's so far outside of character. Yeah, since Hudson Hawk. I mean, just like, stretching so far out of like what you normally associate. They're the kind of characters you normally associate him with, and usually he's like all about sort of like the small I don't know, the small things, I guess, like, you know, the little whatever corner smile or something, but to just be freaking out at all times and be like, oh my God.
Some people call a corner smile a smirk.
Yes, that's it. Corner smile.
Corner smiles.
Call it a smirk if you want. I call it a smirk. Smile.
I saw my neighbor and we shook hands at each other.
But I thought it like explored a lot of really interesting and relevant plots, or not plots, but ideas early on, I guess. Like the whole like struggling with aging, of course, and like self-image thing. But then also like the whole like fakeness of Hollywood. Like when they're in she's in a clinic complaining about like how she needs another whatever thing, and like the person she's talking to like loses her French accent halfway through the conversation. And like, you know, the guy comes in like his left eye's like twitching because of whatever treatment he's had. Like, I kind of liked, I don't know, especially, I like that whole commentary on LA and like, you know, we've lived here for 12 years. Have you seen a neighbor even once? But I really enjoyed like the feud between Goldie Hawn and Meryl Streep. I felt like the movie completely fell off though. Like basically they both, spoiler alert, they both die, but don't die. But like they kind of like make up, you know, they become friends again. They bond over that. And then the whole thing after that is like, oh, let's get Bruce Willis to take this potion too, so he can, you know, do our touch-ups forever. And I feel like the whole movie is just like, because there was never a likable character in it. No. But it was engaging watching those two just like go at it and him being stuck in the middle. And as soon as they teamed up, like there were a few jokes that still worked, but overall it was just like I kind of completely lost interest at that point.
I felt like the deaths were too gruesome. You know what I mean? And I like horror. Like like The Thing is one of my favorite movies. That's the grossest thing that like ever. You know, but like, or one of them. But this is just like when like and she falls down. It's like that's not funny. That's not funny at all. It's just like
no.
Yeah.
And I guess one of the other like sort of like interesting things or themes it explores is like the whole like immortality thing, which has been done a million times, but like I feel like this was kind of a unique take on it because there's like the Twilight Zone take on it, or like the guy that ends up getting life in prison, you know, or like the guy that can never lose and then he gets bored of losing, or gets bored of winning. And then of course there's whatever, like bring it back to Indiana Jones, the Last Crusade thing, where it's like the price of immortality is loneliness. But this one I did like how it was about protecting your physical body. It was like, okay, you're going to live forever, but your body is still subject to like the conditions that you know, place upon it. So they're just bashing each other with shovels and pushing each other downstairs and stuff like that. And their bodies are just going to hell.
They squandered their eternity, like in like within like a movie day.
Yeah. So I thought
Yeah.
There was a lot of really good ideas, but yeah, trying to play some of that for like easy laughs that didn't really work. I don't know. Yeah, I felt like it was just kind of squandered a little bit.
So I think that this is a situation where Robert Zemeckis, I think, had a little too much rope. He was off. Oh, did you have any other? I have a bit of a tirade. Did you have anything else you wanted to add to the mess there, Briana? That is this movie?
I mean, I feel a little bit like we all have some similar feelings. It's kind of like you have all the really nice ingredients. You got at all the nice shops. You got the good cheese and like the handmade pasta. You got like the organic, short ribs, and then you end up with like a pile of crap that like doesn't really taste like anything.
Nothing fits together.
Like, that's how this movie felt to me. Yep. In the beginning, I was thrilled, but like all those awesome bits and pieces just didn't add up because to me it just felt like someone trying to do something they didn't know about. Like did he even watch any like weird campy old movies? Like, so
I have something to add here. To me, like it felt like an experiment. It felt like Zemeckis being like, I wonder if I can do this. But I did do some further reading after I watched it. And it turns out that he is a huge fan of the 1972 Tales from the Crypt movie. And the 80s TV series, he directed 3 episodes of the TV series. And apparently this script was originally written to be a Tales from the Crypt thing.
It should have been that.
Which, in a way, almost made me appreciate it more when I read that. because I was like, I just don't know what to think about this. And I was like, if it was in the context of Tales from the Crypt, I actually probably would have liked this a lot more.
If it had been shorter and smaller.
Yeah. I agree. So Robert Zemeckis at that point was coming. This is his first movie after the Back to the Future trilogy had wrapped.
Yeah.
So, needless to say, like he's like flying high, in charge. The Robert Zemeckis name equals box office success. So like, and I think they like I said earlier, he just had a little too much rope and went like I think a little unchecked, kind of like like when modern day Sir Paul McCartney works with like a younger producer who that's not named Nigel Godrich,
Yeah.
Like how do you say no? But then I was thinking about it because you mentioned the eras, right? And Robert Zemeckis has some really great movies, and he also has some really not good movies, like not good at all. These two, in my opinion, sorry, I know Briana disagrees, and I don't want to like.
I'm nervously anticipating what you're going to say.
I think that he, like George Lucas, is a director that thinks more from a technical standpoint than a human storytelling standpoint, and I think his success. His best successes were when I think he has to be paired with the right producer. I think he needs someone to tell him, no, it should be like this. Now, I'm not saying he can't make great movies without this person, but I didn't realize that his production deal with Steven Spielberg went all the way back to I Want to Hold Your Hand.
Yeah. Which I love.
Right, yeah. So that's
I haven't seen that one.
You haven't seen that one?
No.
Yeah, I mean it's like, it's like it's a movie about the Beatles that doesn't have the Beatles in it at all. It's like about
it's about Beatles fans.
Beatles fans like following them around New York when they first landed.
Yeah. They're trying to go see them on the Ed Sullivan Show. Yeah. And also, have you seen Used Cars, the second movie, which I believe is also a Spielberg production?
It is also a Spielberg production.
Yeah. That's great.
With Kurt Russell, right?
Yes, that's right.
Yep.
That's right. So Hold Your Hand, Spielberg, Romancing the Stone, Michael Douglas. So he kind of parts ways there. But then we get Back to the Future 1. That's a Spielberg production. Roger Rabbit, that's Spielberg is on that, but also Kathleen Kennedy and Frank Marshall were the front runners on that. And I was looking at I just chose people who produced the movies, not not.
Well, also I think Used Cars, I Want to Hold Your Hand, and all the Back to the Futures were co-written and also co-produced by Bob Gale, who is like sort of like the Frank Oz to Zemeckis' Jim Henson.
Heard. And
Bob Gale was not involved in Romancing the Stone, not involved in Death Becomes Her,
right. It's right. So he kind of pulled him away. So so these first round of movies, which are very good and they're very like heartwarming, it's like that works out for him and they're great movies. And then you get into Romancing the Stone. Obviously, I feel like we've all agreed that this is a misguided Michael Douglas production, right?
But a huge commercial success for him.
Right. Yeah. Isn't it awful when people get rewarded for crap? Yeah. Roger Rabbit, Back to Form, Back to the Future 2 and 3. Those are both great. And then Death Becomes Her. It's not a huge failure, but it's just like an unchecked missing of the mark.
Well, so Death Becomes Her also felt like a special effects like tryout to me too. Like especially knowing that the next movie he made was Forrest Gump. And like how mind-blowing those effects were. Like the scene in Forrest Gump where Gary Sinise swings his legs over the table.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh wait, you must not really have legs because how did they do that?
Right.
To me, like when she sits down on the couch and like the shovel handle goes through her chest and Death Becomes Her.
Yeah.
That felt like a test run for like the kind of effects that you would see later in Forrest Gump used much more effectively.
Yeah, so he's a technical director. He's very good at telling. I didn't mean to imply that he's like George Lucas and that he doesn't know how to direct human beings. That's not true. He really is very good at it. And he's also very good at marrying that performance with technology. But Death Becomes Her just kind of felt like a bit of a mess. And then a Contact.
It did feel like a mess.
Like a what now?
I was just agreeing. It did. It felt like a big old mess.
Yeah. But then you get like Forrest Gump is obviously, like it's a divisive movie. I like it. I don't. See the
Yeah,
problem
it's one of
with
my
it.
favorites. But
Yeah. Some people are like,
I've heard the other side of the argument too.
I don't care about that argument. Contact's an incredible movie. I love that movie.
Yeah.
What
Same.
Lies Beneath, also very good.
Yeah.
And then he's getting into
I like
his
that one.
second. He's with this. He has a now kind of a production team that kind of like follows him on that, and up through Castaway. Like that's a really good run.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and then you get into like Polar Express and the CGI period. Beowulf. I don't even want to watch it. I can't even watch the trailer. You know,
I've seen them. I never saw his Christmas Carol, but I've seen Polar Express and I've seen Beowulf.
mm-hmm.
Beowulf was terrible.
Yeah, it looked terrible.
Yeah.
Christmas Carol. Yeah. I'm set. But then, you know, since then it's been like a little bit, you know, a little bit peppered here and there, and certainly like he hasn't had much for success. Although I will say, I thought Flight was really rewarding movie
Flight.
to watch.
Same. I have not seen his most recent one, Welcome to Marwin. I still have not watched that.
No, I haven't either. Because I remember when the documentary about that person came out. It's called Welcome to Marwin Saul. You know what I mean? Like that's the name of the little town that the dude made, right?
Mm-hmm.
And just that the studio, like to me, like that he allowed the studio to say like, no, we're gonna call it Welcome to Marwin because Marwin Saul, no one will know what that is. You know what I mean? Like in my brain, it was like, oh, if he couldn't like put his foot down and say, like, no, it's called Welcome to Marwin Saul.
Yeah.
You know, that made me feel like I don't know. I'll watch it eventually because like I am a Robert Zemeckis fan. And I am a Steve Carell fan as well. But yeah. I just have the feeling that like that Robert Zemeckis needs that kind of like really good, and this is probably true for a lot of people. And I'm not sure like what the back end of that Spielberg deal even looked like. It could have been like a piece of shit, and maybe he hated being in it. Like who knows?
Yeah.
But you know, one thing that we, you know, love him or hate him, like Steve Spielberg knows how to make a movie. You know?
Yeah.
And
Yes.
And having that kind of filter of someone to kind of be able to put their foot down and have the ultimate to further edit at least ideas or content. Yeah. I think that to me it's clear that Robert Zemeckis is one of those directors that apparently would seem to respond best when he's got a solid production staff.
Yeah. This actually just reminded me of one last point that I want to make, which I brought up Alan Silvestri, who is sort of the John Williams. He's the John Williams to Zemeckis' Spielberg. Right. And they're, as I mentioned earlier, the first time they worked together was Romancing the Stone, which is just terrible, terrible music. Mm-hmm. But Silvestri went on to write, Back to the Future and all those movies. Mm-hmm. I thought his Death Becomes Her score was great. It owed a lot to like the Hitchcock stuff. I don't know why I'm blanking on that composer's Bernard Herrmann, who did a lot of the Albert Hitchcock scores.
I just agreed. I wasn't going to say anything, but
I thought the music was great.
Yeah, it definitely it owes a lot to that kind of the Bernard Herrmann Hitchcock thing, and I thought he pulled it off. That was one of the areas that was very strong in Death Becomes Her.
Agreed.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. And the skeleton of the movie is commendable, right? Like the score makes sense. The campy plot line makes sense. Like it, like I really wanted that movie to work.
Yeah, me too.
I just feel like if you think about movie audiences from like 1992 and you like read The Room, I feel like he didn't work hard enough. Like think about the comedies and the Reservoir Dogs, A League of Their Own, Batman Returns, My Cousin Vinny. Like these movies are good and smart and funny, and I just think this movie fell so flat. Like there's so much blank space and empty space, and the jokes don't work, and like it's too bad because like it's wrapped up in like a package that seems like it could be really amazing.
all the best ingredients and somehow not a good meal.
It's like kind of reminds me of like they're basically flexing, right? They're like, let's have fun. Hey, let's make a movie. You know, I know how to direct. Meryl Streep, you know how to act. You know, like so they get together to make a movie, and it's just like it didn't come together. But I don't want to give it a hall pass because when James Cameron did that with True Lies, it's like Like aside from like
that's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's like super. Like his chill flex is like okay,
Yeah.
it's pretty strong. Yep. Well, cool. I will say that Death Becomes Her does not hold up.
Yeah, it sounds pretty unanimous, I think.
Does not hold up. Not for me.
Speaking of holds up, I watched Goonies last night, and it's been a very, very long time since I've seen Goonies, and I did not want to bring it to this show because I think it's like kind of too obvious. Like it's a beloved movie by millions. It holds up.
That movie's great.
It's so good. The kids are so good. The timing, every beat, the direction. Richard Donner, right? It's just
Richard Donner.
Yeah,
and Spielberg produced, right?
Yeah. The jokes are hilarious. The production value is great. It's like I felt like I was 8 again, like with the whole treasure map thing, and
nice.
It wasn't corny to me at all. Like it was totally.
It doesn't feel corny. And those kids are so good, and together as a crew, they're so good, and it feels really real.
Yeah, that was really good. What do we think about? Do we want to do this again?
I'd love to. Yeah,
I would love to if you forgive my technical difficulties.
Always.
Already forgiven.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We're just glad you're here. Well, any suggestions?
Can we put Flight of the Navigator back on the table?
Fine by me.
Yeah. I'm excited to rewatch that one.
And if somebody else has an idea, please throw it out there. But we had also, I think, briefly mentioned Short Circuit a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
Sure. I'm down. I remember nothing of that movie except that guy with the funny neck is in it.
Steve Guttenberg?
How dare you call Gutenberg's neck funny?
What's wrong with Steve Guttenberg?
I know, that's what I was thinking. I don't remember there being a problem with the Goot's neck.
Everything about Steve Guttenberg is perfect. You don't disparage any part.
Steve Guttenberg looks like the kind of
the guy who's
Steve Guttenberg looks like the kind of guy that you'd think was hot if you were doing cocaine, and he also looks like the kind of guy that thinks that he's hot when he does cocaine.
He is hot.
I don't know. His jeans, Steve Guttenberg's jeans. Gross. Briana, do we want to like look for like one that maybe is that you have a little more history with?
Wait, unfortunately, I had some more technical difficulties and I couldn't hear what you just said.
That's okay. Do we want to look for a movie that you have a little bit more of a history with, so that you have some context, like when you're watching it?
No, I feel good about Short Circuit. I remember watching it when I was a kid and thinking it was cool.
Okay, great.
So I'm down to see if it holds up.
Number 5 is alive.
Fisher Stevens, that's that guy's name. Fisher
Oh,
Stevens.
yes. Oh, that'll be a fun thing to address.
Fisher Stevens' neck.
Ooh, mildly inappropriate.
Yeah.
Why? What? Am I missing something?
He plays someone of like vague Middle Eastern descent, right?
Oh, good.
Yeah, or like or Asian anyway. Or is he supposed to be Indian? I think.
I don't know. I don't remember
Well,
at all.
it's not like-
this is how little I remember.
Yeah.
It's not like Mickey Rooney level in Breakfast at Tiffany's, is it?
I think it probably is. In
Ooh,
fact,
Probably.
I think it is.
We're gonna find out. Yes.
I think on a Mickey Rooney scale, it's as Rooney as you can get.
Wow. Like on a scale of 1 to Rooney, it's full Roon. I'm looking forward to having a hot neck while I watch the movie, going, oh god. All right, but that's Steve Guttenberg, though. He looks great in those jeans.
Yeah. That's right.
Just
Goot's jeans. You obviously need to make up an advertisement for that episode for Gutenberg's jeans.
Yeah. Gutenbergs. Make yours a pair of Gutenbergs.
Are those Gutenbergs you're wearing?
Why, yes.
Yeah. Check out that ass. He must be wearing Gutenbergs.
Yeah.
Ooh, you seem good.
I like this part where Briana just sounds like the internet has made her drunk.
Intoxicated robot.
Intoxicated. All right.
Does that happen?
Yeah, once in a
Does
while.
that happen because of the worldwide internet being weird? Or are you saying I'm drunk?
I don't think that you're drunk.
I have had a lot of seltzers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your internet might be though.
Yeah, your internet's a little bit drunk.
Yeah.
All right, well, thanks, y'all, and we'll see you next time for Does It Hold Up?
Does it hold up?
Does it hold up now that we're grown up? It was the shit when we were young, but nowadays is it as fun? Does it hold up like before?
It's time for Happy Hour, presented by Maine Spirits. We're going to keep the party going by showing you how to make delicious drinks at home, starting with the fundamentals. In previous episodes, we've done a martini, we did a Manhattan, we just did a Negroni. These are all very straightforward, but they all have variations. And the point of what we're doing right now is to show you how to work with what you've got. Now, my wife and I looked in our fridge, and we were looking at all the different vegetables we had, cucumber, we had ginger root, we had some peppercorns, and we have cinnamon sticks, and all this kind of stuff. So we just kind of like looked at what we had for liquor available, like the bourbon and cinnamon with honey, that could be like a thing. And then we also thought, well, we have the ginger, and we have some lemon, and we also had frozen blueberries, so that could be like a thing, like muddle that up. Is that a martini, maybe with soda water? But what we're going to focus on today, we realized that we had the ingredients in-house to make a Paloma. A Paloma is a delicious, refreshing take on a margarita. So let's get our tools together and show you how to make a Paloma. For tools, you will need the following: a bar spoon, a jigger, a highball glass, a paring knife, a juicer, and a small plate. For ingredients, you will need sugar, salt, lime juice, grapefruit juice, soda water, and Cazadores Tequila Reposado. Now let's build this thing. Take your small plate and pour kosher salt into it. Now rub the rim of your glass with a grapefruit wedge. Now dip the rim of the glass in the salt. Boom, salted rim. Now to your salt-rimmed glass, add 2 ounces of fresh grapefruit juice, 1/2 ounce of fresh lime juice, and 1 teaspoon of sugar. With your bar spoon, stir your ingredients until the sugar is dissolved. Once dissolved, stir in 2 ounces of Cazadores Tequila Reposado. Now, add ice and top with club soda, and garnish with a grapefruit wedge. What's left to do now but take a sip? Truly refreshing, truly delicious, and truly stuff we had in our fridge. Maybe you want to kick it up a notch. Let's try these substitutions. Sub mezcal for the tequila for an intense, smoky flavor, or use 1 ounce of each, go half and half. You can also use any fresh hot pepper, that'd be jalapeno, Fresno, Serrano, and muddle that in with the fresh juice before you add your tequila. But you'll want to make sure to take the peppers out, because that thing will get a spicy. You can also add a dash of chili powder to your salt and add heat to the salted rim. You can also mix some sugar in with the salted rim so it's sweet and salty. The point is for you to experiment with your spirits in the same way you would experiment with food. Just look at what you've got and give it a shot. Give it a try. What's the worst case scenario? You make a drink that's okay. It's still a drink. This has been Happy Hour, brought to you by Maine Spirits. You can follow Maine Spirits online at mainspirits.com, on Instagram at main_spirits, or you can download their app for smartphones. Thank you for joining us, and as always, we encourage you to drink deliciously and responsibly. Spencer Explores the Universe is brought to you by Maine Spirits. You can visit them online at mainspirits.com, or download their app, or visit them on Instagram at main_spirits. The show is also brought to you by Bull Moose, serving Maine and New Hampshire's music, movie, video game, and book and trinket needs since 1782. Also brought to you by Sun Tiki Studios at 375 Forest Avenue or at suntikistudios.com. Spencer Explores the Universe is a Mistakes Were Made production.